Hello and welcome to Voices of Victory podcast show. I'm your host, Mario DeLeone, and today is how to test your emotional maturity and pass with strength, not perfection. With strength, not perfection. Let's go ahead and get down to it. I want to just explain to you for a hot second here is that you could be 45 years of age with a nice, tight abdominal six pack and an awesome career and still respond to disappointment like you're 6 years old. That's not a judgment. That's a reminder. That's an absolute reminder that emotional growth doesn't happen just because time had passed. It happens because we choose to confront the very parts of ourselves still stuck in an emotional with an emotional resistance. And maybe, just maybe, we didn't kill Peter Pan in our teenage years, the little Peter Pan-ness inside of us, right? So today's episode asks a single confronting question is how do you respond to somebody you depend on that lets you down? How do you respond to them if they let you down? Now, keep in mind, that's your emotional maturity test. And your answer will indeed show your emotional age, no matter what your driver's license actually says. So there's three saboteurs of the mind when it comes to emotional maturity. Let's talk about the three instinctive reactions that signal emotional immaturity, even in the most driven, responsible, successful, and highly functional adults. The first one is sulking. You're upset, but you won't say a word. So you want them to know, you send a message, so you start sulking. You want them to know. You withdraw. You go silent. Maybe you get passive. Maybe you get aggressive. And you might look calm, but deep down inside, you're sulking. You're hoping they'll magically read your mind, and maybe even fix it or ask you what's wrong. That's the 4-year-old inside of you, scared to actually speak up. Maybe it means that you were abandoned when you were young, whichever the case may be. The second one is the explosion. You lash out, you get loud, you get sharp, you get extreme. You say, nothing's wrong with me, right? But here's the truth. No one who feels truly strong needs to scream to be heard unless they feel like they're not being heard. It's a panic. The anger isn't power, it's actual panic. And you're terrified, you're exposed, you're ungrounded, you're upset, and the fury is your little armor. The next one is the freeze. You freeze out, you numb yourself out, you pretend to not care, you numb out, you shut down, you act like it didn't matter. And you know what? It's not coldness, it's protection. Vulnerability feels like danger to some people. So your nervous system chooses ice over exposure. That's the reason why people develop avoidant behavior. But that little numbness, that's the cost of cutting yourself off from the real deal connection that you could have with that person. The next thing is emotional maturity checkpoints. It's good to develop. So if those signs of immaturity start cropping up, what does real emotional maturity actually look like? Let's break it down into three core capacities. The capacity to communicate clearly, number one. You can say, that hurt, or I felt abandoned when that happened. What you did didn't feel good at all. Can we please talk about this? You don't spiral into silence expecting someone else to put a mind reading cape on or to guess. You take the risk, you speak even when it's uncomfortable. And you know what? The capacity to stay grounded is important. You don't assume the worst and strike first. That's what some people do. You don't need to dominate the moment just to feel safe, to prove something, right? Because you've built enough inner calm inside of you to give people some grace, losing yourself. You can hold back the hammer and choose to open your hand, open your heart, and open your mind. The next one is the capacity to be vulnerable. And I've seen this where avoidant behavior, they can't reciprocate vulnerability. So what they do is they go the other way. They avoid. So the capacity to be vulnerable is important. You're strong enough to say, I care about you. That actually hurt more than I'm willing to admit. And I'm afraid, but I still want to show up with you and for you. You don't have to confuse emotion with weakness. You don't see openness as risk. You see it as a strength. Now, there are three virtues of emotional adulthood. And all three of these are traits, communication, and of course, calm, and of course, vulnerability. They're not just skills, they're virtues. And not everyone was raised in a home where those virtues or values were spoken fluently. Emotional maturity is a language. It's a practice, just like hope and willpower are a practice. And some of us were raised to actually speak it, and others are just learning still. And that's okay. It's okay to have some self-compassion. So here's what I want to say just at the final bottom line here. The emotional re-education for you is important. So if you realize that you've been reacting more than responding, avoid shaming yourself. Train yourself. Use it as an opportunity to move forward. You might be emotionally bilingual by now. You know how to survive. It's time to thrive. It's time to speak the language of emotional, healthy love. You're not behind. You're awake and you're here. And you know what? You're inside Voices of Victory. And we don't pretend that we've mastered the message here on the show. We practice the message as best as we can, out loud, together, for real. Your emotional barometer, it's not broken. You may just never have been shown how to actually read it and understand it. So just keep in mind, before you decide to expect somebody to decode your feelings with a mind reading key, lead with presence, respond with power, live with maturity. This is Voices of Victory. I'm Mario DeLeone. And have a great day. See you on the next one.